Hey, welcome to our Circle Up Bible Study Review. This is for students who, for whatever reason, can't be here on Tuesday or Wednesday night. We wanted to be able to just kind of do a little bit of review of what we've covered. This week, we're still in Voyage of the Dawn Treader. We looked at Edmond, and we looked at this concept of riches and priorities. Edmond has this issue that he always is wanting authority. He doesn't feel like he has enough authority, and so he wants that. And so we watched a clip where they find a pond that turns everything into gold, and it basically goes into Edmond's soul, infatuates him with this concept that with this we could make all the gold we wanted, and with that we could buy the power that we want, and we could be the most powerful people in Narnia. Prince Caspian comes against him and says no, that nothing can be taken out of Narnia, and that's not going to work. And so they have an argument. But the issue that we want to look at is this aspect that Edmond wanting power and wanting gold and riches to be able to have and make that happen. Jesus spoke to this in Luke chapter 12, where he talks about a guy who had a crop, and the crop was great that year. It was huge. And so he decided to tear down his barns and build bigger barns. In the process of that, the response is this. But as Jesus shares this parable, he's in verse 20, he says God's response to this man who had great crops. And it says this: "But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself?' This is how it'll be," verse 21, with whoever stores up things for themselves, but not rich toward God." So God's warning is that all this stuff is fleeting. Our stuff is fleeting. What we try to do here is it can be fleeting. And then at end of life, we're not going to be able to take any of this with us. None of this is going to go with us. Only what we do that honors and glorifies God will have any eternal benefits whatsoever. And so God has given a warning to this guy who is basically called a fool because he thinks that he can just build up all these riches. And so we looked at this concept of priorities from this verse. In Luke 12, right before Jesus gives the parable, he gives this in verse 15. It says this: "Then he said to them, 'Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions.'" We put value on stuff so much, but yet none of the things that we put value on is going to last. None of it's going to go very far in our life before it goes away. And second, none of it will we take with us into eternity, no matter how much you have. I used Bill Gates as an example, a billionaire, but yet when Bill Gates dies and I die, we'll take the same amount of stuff from this earth that we have to heaven. The exact same amount, which is nothing. So having your priorities right, making God number one in your life, Jesus as Lord or boss of your life, and working towards the ends of honoring and glorifying them is where it matters. And then in the same passage, we get down to verse 22, when Jesus then stops telling the story to those that are around and talks to his disciples. And he says this: "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than the birds.'" So Jesus takes and looks at nature and says to the disciples, you need to recognize you're more valuable, and God's going to take care of you because he takes care of the birds. He takes care of nature. And in that, he then shows care for you when we trust him. In verse 27, Jesus goes on and goes from the birds to the flowers and says this: "Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin, yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith?" And so Jesus gives this command then to his disciples that God even takes care of the flowers. And we're in the middle of spring, right at the edge of Easter, and flowering trees and flowers are coming up, and we're beginning to see that beauty. Jerry and me were coming back this week from Kentucky. We had to take a quick trip to Kentucky, and we were coming back on Tuesday. And she was looking at all the blossoms on the trees and how beautiful they are. they're only going to last a short time, but they're gorgeous. And that's what this verse is saying. As God has given us that beauty and taken care of nature in that way, how much more is He going to take care of you, a person that He loves and cares about? So in that, when you understand that, it moves us into that next verse. Verse 29 says, do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it, for the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek His kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. So in these last verses that we're looking at today, Jesus is saying that pagans run after all this stuff to try to take care of themselves here on this earth, but you need to run after God. And when you run after God, He's going to take care of your needs. He's going to make sure that you're satisfied. That doesn't mean He's going to give you everything that you ever think you want, but He's going to give you the things that you need. He's going to bless you in that way to where you find yourself satisfied in Him. So having those right priorities, even as you go through school and as you look at school clothes coming up, as you look at what you're going to eat, looking to trust God first, put Him at that top priority. So I hope you can do that. I hope you can let the Lord move you. I hope as we are in the middle of spring, you can look at the beauty that God has given us and recognize that in every bit of that beauty it says God loves you and cares for you and wants to take care of you. In the way of a couple of announcements, first is Circle Up Bible Study that has been Tuesdays for high school and Wednesday for middle school is going to go to Wednesday for both starting this coming Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday we will go to Circle Up Bible Study. Will be high school and middle school will be together, and so wanted you to know that. We had our first volleyball practice this week. Volleyball practice will be every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7. If you've never played, that's okay. We'll be working on some passing drills and stuff to help you learn. We are practicing outside for the COVID aspect and to be safer outside. So all of our practices are outside, our games are outside, but we will be still doing some drills and learning how to play. If you want to come be a part of that, games then will be on Saturdays, and that starts not this Saturday, but next Saturday. We'll have our first game. All the games will be here at Villa Heights. And we'll be playing 4 other different churches through the season. So there's only 4 weeks of games that we'll be playing, but I would love to have you, if you've never played, even come on out. If you played before and you're watching this, I'd love to have you come back out and play again. We had a good turnout for practice this past week, so I'm looking to have a lot of fun this year, even though it's a shortened season with COVID. And last, be looking at your email, because information for camp will be right around the corner. I'm hoping to get that information out this week to you, and that'll come out in an email, as well as we'll have brochures and such in the youth building for those who are interested in going to camp this summer. We are trying to do an in-person camp. That's the plans we're making, with some COVID restrictions, some COVID safeguards that we'll have in place while we go to camp. But we are looking for actual in-camp experience in the middle of July, and so keep a lookout for that. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm praying for you guys that aren't able to make it to Circle Up Bible Study, and looking for the day that we're all back together again and everything is like normal. All right, take care. God bless.